Greetings, Perl citizens. It is I, once again, your fearless leader, Will the Chill. Some of you may know me by my legal name, Will Braswell. We're bringing you today episode number 15, exciting number 15, and I would like to introduce my host, my co-host with me, Dean Hampstead, and our very special guest for today, Mohammad Anwar. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, everyone.
Will, everybody, thanks for listening in. And welcome,
Awesome.
Mohammed.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dean.
Thank you guys for joining us. We have, as I said, a special guest today. So this episode of the Perl Town Hall will focus on some interview questions that Dean and I have put together for Mohammed. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. I've got my list of questions here. I guess I kind of... There's a couple different questions on different topics, and also for those of you watching live at home, if you have your own questions that you would like to add, just type them right in, and we should be able to see them and do them live. So let's go ahead and get started. I guess before we jump into all of the Perl stuff. I'm just interested to hear a little bit about your own self, Mohammed. I don't need to know all the technical details just yet, but where are you from? Were you born in London? I guess you live in London. Just tell me a little bit about Mohammed.
Okay, let me start. I'm originally from India, and a small city called Jamshedpur in the north of India, northeast of India. And I did my Bachelor of Science in Mathematics honors in 1995. And then a year later, I moved to Bombay, it used to call Mumbai now, for better opportunities, because my Jamshedpur is not a big city for tech opportunities. So I moved to Bombay, and at that point, I was just a Visual Basic programmer, and I was doing some Windows programming at that time, 96, 97. At that time, one of my friends, he introduced me, he offered me a place in a startup company who were looking for a fresh programmer who can learn and work on Perl. That's when I was introduced to Perl in 1997 and 98. At that time, it was Perl 5 was just recently launched. And that was my first uh, introduction to Perl. And I remember the first Perl book I bought was Learn Perl 5 in 21 days. And that's how I started picking up the Perl.
Cool.
And I worked there. And I remember I worked there for a couple of years. And that's when I got an offer from an Indian company was based in London, saying we have opportunities for Perl developer in London. Would you be willing to go there on a work permit? It used to be a work permit those days in 2000. So I came to London on a 2 years work permit, and I started doing contracting for this Indian company. And that's how I landed here. And since then, I've been here in London for last 20 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds pretty fun. I got to visit very briefly and see you presenting at the London Pro Workshop about 2 years ago. And I was like, hey, look at this guy. He's pretty interesting. He's talking about this Perl Weekly Challenge. I don't know what that's about, but it sounds interesting. That's good. Little did I know, here we are today. And you've been going for many weeks now. But we'll get into that. So you came over from India. There was an Indian company in London, and you were contracting through them. And then I guess the rest is history, as they say.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, I guess my second piece to that question, and this will segue us into our Perl part, but you had mentioned that you had this job opportunity, and that's kind of how you got introduced to Perl. So that was going to be one of our questions, like how did you first get started in Perl? So I guess your answer is it was because of a job.
because of this opportunities. Yeah, because I was tired of doing Windows programming. I just wanted to do something different, and this is the opportunity I had where I can earn my bread at the same time learn something new, which is interesting. So was a very good opportunity for me.
Awesome. Well, a lot of us come to Pearl through different ways. Sometimes through a job, sometimes through a hobby, sometimes through your school. So, I guess as they say, all paths lead to Pearl. Or at least that's what I like to think. Some people may disagree, probably the Java people, but we'll let them go. So,
Right.
okay, well. That was kind of my opening questions. I'm gonna pass it over to Dean. I know he has a few, and we'll kind of go back and forth.
Sure.
So I guess the Pro Weekly Challenge is what people may know you for. Um, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the Pearl Weekly Challenge for the people who have never ever heard of it before?
Okay. There's a little bit of background to the Pearl Weekly Challenge, and I would like to talk about that. I know most of you probably remember there's something called pull request challenge, which Neil Bauer started 3 4 years ago before I started my weekly challenge. So I was quite involved with this pull request challenge right from the beginning. And after 4 years, when Neil decided to stop doing this, and he said, "Okay, I have had enough, so I don't want to continue with pull request challenge." At that point, because I was so much hooked into this pull request kind of thing, I was like kind of addicted to these things. I said, "How can I just stop randomly at the end of the December?" And that's when Neil decided not to continue. So I was looking for something so that I can continue my addiction. So I was keep scratching various ideas. At that time, I remember there's a guy called Kivan. He started something called Pull Request Club, and I said, "Well, it's quite interesting, Pull Request Club." So I joined him, and started doing Pull Request Club. But still, doing one pull request at least a month was not enough for me to keep me busy. So I was still looking for something else. And at that time, I started looking into Raku at the same time. So I was looking for something where I can learn something new in Raku, and at the same time keep my addiction intact. So I was looking for something more challenging, which is more than just one per month. So I was looking for something who can maybe keep me busy every week. So I said, okay. At that time, I was doing my editorial for Pearl Weekly. So I had this idea of weekly kind of thing was in my head already built in. So I was wanted to do something weekly for Pearl. So maybe why not Pearl Weekly Challenge? So that's how I came up with this idea was Pearl Weekly Challenge. So I thought, okay, let's start doing something simple. So I remember prior to that, I come across many other people who are doing weekly challenge, which was not beginners friendly, because the moment you talk about challenge, people think, oh, it's not for beginners, it's for somebody who knows Perl inside out, can only do challenge kind of thing. So I wanted to have something where beginners can come and have fun. At the same time, those who are experienced Perl programmer can also come and have fun at the same time. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start something which will cater to both experienced Perl programmer as well as junior, or somebody who is new to Perl can come and also have fun and learn from other seniors programmer. And that's where I got the idea, and I said, okay, let's start do this Perl weekly channel. And I had a rough draft ready. So okay, I'm gonna start with a couple of challenge. One is gonna be for the beginner, for one for the beginners and one for the senior Perl programmer. And that's how I started this Perl weekly challenge. And there were a lot of supports from seniors people, guys who supported me initially, and then I still have support, a lot of support. And it's been more than a year now, and yeah, it's been fun. I'm still enjoying it. I hope I should continue for many years, not just months.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned you had two streams. Is it one for beginners and one for people who are more looking for more of a challenge? Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So how do you come up with these questions every single week? If you're especially if you're trying to do
Honestly,
the challenge at the same time.
yeah, it it's kind of like a challenge for me now. I've been done for more than 15 months now. So coming up with challenge is a really, really difficult task now. But I have a very good support team, and I do get suggestions from the team members every now and then that keep me going. And I just look around on the internet to find something interesting. And if I like something interesting, I just pass on to my team for as a challenge. So I have a bank of questions there, and there's a guy who is part of the weekly team member. It's Ryan Thompson. He also
Yeah,
helped me a lot with
yeah,
my,
yeah,
yeah, and the other people, even Neil Bauer sometimes pass on interesting tasks, and various other people. I mean, there's so many people who keeps sending me
yeah. Awesome.
challenges, interesting. So yeah, I do have a support system. But it's one of the biggest challenge of doing this
Yeah,
weekly
keep
challenge.
the questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. So
and
what makes a good challenge in your mind? Like, what's the aspects of that question or task? I guess.
w- one thing that I always try to do is if I pick a challenge for the weekly task, is it has to have some kind of like a fun bit in it. It doesn't have to be very serious kind of thing. For example,
Yeah.
if it is related to your not to your daily coding business, it has to be something other than just a coding business. For example, I remember uh, uh, there was a task where you have a cake and you have to distribute among n number of guests, and that those kind of thing which you don't do it on a daily basis. Those kind of
Mhm.
practical question excites me a lot, although
Yeah, yeah,
I don't get to do that every week, but I try to look for those kind of thing where you're dealing with something you don't do on a regular basis.
yeah. That's awesome. So why are some of the for fun, I guess, but why would people want to get involved? Um,
In my opinion, I mean, even though I've been doing Perl for more than 20 years now, but doing challenge weekly challenge still excites me.
mm,
Honestly speaking, I every time I do a challenge, although I propose the task, I knew the little bit background, I have a upper hand compared to other people. I still, whenever I sit here and start coding, I get so many ideas and learn so many new things every time I do a challenge. And the best part of joining doing this weekly challenge is you get to see so many different ways of doing the same task. And sometimes it really, I say, I can't. Sometimes I feel I'm like a stupid. Why didn't I think this way? Where other people are doing in such a brilliant and a very unique style, and it's there's so much to learn from others. I mean, it's unbelievable. Sometimes I find it's 1 week is not enough to go through each and every solution that's come from so many members. So it's keep you busy, and I get to learn so many new stuff. Honestly,
yeah, absolutely.
it's a lot of thing to learn. So 1 week is not enough for me, at least.
Yeah, I definitely. I can see that doing it yourself and then reading other people's solutions would be a great way to
Yeah,
open your mind to some different ways of thinking and
yeah,
gain some experience in. Oh, maybe I should do this
yeah,
more elegantly or more quickly, or maybe there's some functions I'm not aware of. So I think that's a really great initiative, and I really
yeah,
take my hat off to you for keeping it going for, you say, 15 months. So I guess
yeah,
that's coming up on a year and a half. Wow, far out.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
very
That's
commendable. I know that it's not easy. I did a GitHub challenge where I had to code every day, and I got like over a year. But after I got closer to 2 years, I was like, man, this is too much. It's like I couldn't keep it going for up to 2 years. So I give you guys a big thumbs up because I know that it's a challenge to have a weekly challenge. I believe.
yeah. It is difficult, but yeah, because I enjoy it, I do it. The day I stop enjoying, probably I'm not going to continue.
That's the trick in life, to do things that you enjoy doing. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask another few questions here. So let's switch back to London and talk about London.pm, which is London Pearlmongers. For those of you not familiar with our halfway sarcastic usage of naming, as if London were a Perl module called London.pm. So I guess I could type use London.pm semicolon and then like print, London arrow, how did you join? Something like that. I'm curious, how did you come to be involved with London.pm originally?
Okay. Honestly speaking, I don't remember when I actually started, when I joined it. I remember it was one of my colleague who introduced me to London Pearl Workshop. And he said there is an annual event that happens in London every year where people from all over the world come for a 1 day event where you get to attend, talk from various people, and you get to see so many experts in one place. And I said, okay, I should go and have a look around. So one particular year, I don't remember, maybe 7 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, I booked the place and went and see how it looks like. And that's where the first time I attended any Pearl event. So, and that's where I came across face to face so many people that I've only seen online. I mean, I've been to many people's MetaCPN repository, and known them by face. I basically I've known them by their profile photo, but meeting them face to face was a different experience to me. And that's where I said, okay, wow, there are so many genius around, and I get to talk to them, get to know them, and that was very interesting. And that's where I started saying, I'm not going to miss this event from now onwards, and that's how I started joining. And then I got invites from local Palmonga groups where they do every few months they do a meetup, and that's where I joined them, and then I continue doing that.
So your introduction to the London Pearlmongers was kind of through the London Pearl Workshop.
That's true, yeah.
That's very good to know. That, that's a success story for the London Pearl Workshop, I guess. Well, my follow-up question to that is, what is the current state of the London Pearlmongers? Is there like a annual meeting or a quarterly or monthly meeting, or do you guys just focus only on the London Pearl Workshop, or how is London Pearlmongers currently constituted?
And year 22 is not so like attractive for any of us because we didn't have any event done this year. Prior to that, in 920, we used to have a quarterly event where we get together and then do a hour and a half, a couple of hours meet up in one of the Pearl shop in London, and used to be. But this year, 2020, is not that.
I assume this is because of the virus.
That's true. Yeah, because of this COVID thing, we haven't been able to meet up.
So before the virus, everything was pretty much good, and then we just had to change things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the temperature reading is London Pearlmongers is doing pretty good, not counting the virus, but just in general, London Pearlmongers is healthy enough to continue on with the London Pearl Workshop in future years, hopefully.
Yeah, we got quite a good crowd every time we meet up, and it's really uh, it's very encouraging to see so many people is still involved.
Yeah, for sure.
So you guys have a few Perl companies there in London that some of your Perl mongers work for those companies, I guess, probably?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's how we organize this event in one of the Pearl workshop. Sometimes Zoopla, sometimes other places, the different places.
Cool. Okay, and
So, oh, sorry, Will. Looking forward to the future with the announcement of Perl 7, what are your thoughts on where Perl's going and what it has to offer over the next 20 years, I guess?
It's a very tricky question, but I have to be very honest with you. Uh, I didn't know until Zoyer announced this Pearl 7 thing on the first day of this conference. Uh, to me, that was uh, very, very, very good news to me. I was very surprised and was very happy to hear there's something so positive happening in Pearl. And I remember prior to this announcement, and every time I see people using this use feature pragma in the script, for example, for example, they want to say use say. So I see people saying in the script use feature say, and then start using say and the rest of the script. I I I kind of like hated it. I say I don't want to use this use feature. As a protest, I never use this the use feature. I said I'm only going to use it if it is going to be part of the core Perl. So as a protest, I never used it. So when Zoyer announced it that all the features and some default is going to come as a core Perl set as a part is going to be the part of Perl 7, I was so happy. Say once it's going to be released, I don't have to do all this use feature business anymore. I can use it as a core Perl feature. So I was very happy. And and on top of that, I got to read the introductory book by Brian Defoe. And that gave me even more pleasure. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to see Pearl 7 being released.
I can't wait
So it's
either.
very so I'm very happy. I'm very happy for the community, for the Pearl that something positive happened. So I'm just looking forward to it.
Oh, terrific. Well,
Yes. So I guess just revisiting the Pearl conference briefly, since you brought it up, I was curious if you had one or two presentations that really stood out to you as being your favorite. Obviously, there's the big Pearl 7 announcement, so let's say that one doesn't count. Because everybody might choose that one. But was there one of the other keynotes or one of the educational talks or one of the Pearl Foundation segments? Which ones were you most interested in?
Okay. You asked a very good question, and I was waiting for this, honestly. And thank you for asking this question
You're
because,
welcome.
uh, and honestly speaking, I wasn't too excited about this conference to begin with because um I'm kind of person who like to meet people face to face. Although I'm a shy person by nature, but since I've been attending this conference for few years now, I'm kind of become open now. I don't feel shy talking to new people. So because of this whole COVID uh, disease thing, I said, okay, I had no choice but to attend this conference because there's no other conference going to happen sooner in the next few months or maybe in this year. So I wasn't having any high expectation. But when I saw the list of speakers for the 3-day event, one speaker stood out from that list, and which I always wanted to meet uh, in person was Damien Conway.
Yes, I
When
knew
I
you
saw
were
him,
gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
and and when I saw him and the list of the speaker, I said, no matter what I'm doing, I'm not gonna miss his talk. And when the moment came for his talk when he gave the introductory speech, and then he said he's going to just plug in his recorded uh, video. I said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I wanted to see you live
No.
in. But then that was a little bit of like a. I was a little sad that I didn't get to do it live, but it's okay as long as I got to see him live, and I got to see him giving us a short introductory, and his talk is anywhere is top of the range, so you don't want to miss it. So I really enjoyed that. Is that one of my best talk of the event?
I think a lot of people would agree with you. And we were chatting on the Zoom during the talk, and there was various comments like abusing regular expressions for fun and profit. Well, he had this like regular expression that's 1,000 lines long. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. That was very advanced regular expression work.
So
That was
yeah,
also one
that's
of
right.
my favorites as well. Yes. Okay, well, let's see. I do have a few more questions here. Let me see here. Well, before I ask my final one or two, do you have anything, Dean, that you'd like to ask?
I think we're coming up on the 30-minute time, so I think we'll leave it for another interview. What do you reckon, Will?
Yes, that's true. We are almost out of time. Then I will just ask my final question here. Well, I'll make it a two-part question, but you can answer it all at once. Um, what is your favorite library or feature of Perl? And second half, if you had one thing that you could add to Perl right now, what would that be?
Okay, that's the best question of this talk. Thank you very much for asking this. So, okay, the best, my favorite library or feature, whatever you call it, is I'm a big fan of Dancer 2, and ever since I was introduced to Dancer 2, I have not looked back. Every time I have to do any kind of REST API business, I go for Dancer 2. My personal website is based on Dancer 2. Everything that I think of is from the mirror of Dancer 2. So whenever I see a new release of Dancer 2, I'm so excited. I want to see what new things come up, what has been improved, what has changed in Dancer 2. That's one of my favorite framework that I use it. And as a library, if you ask me, Moo is my favorite because
Interesting.
prior to that, Moo is my favorite. And I was introduced to Moo by Neil Bowers. When I saw some
Ah,
of his cPanel library is using Moo for all kind of like object creation and everything because it's such a lightweight thing. And before that, I was using Moos for my some of my cPanel modules. When I was saying, okay, Moo is so lightweight and it's so easy and it doesn't need too much. You don't need to have technical knowledge to use it. It's just a pretty simple, straightforward object, and it's so easy to install and doesn't need lots of memory. So I changed all my cPanel library to use Moo now, and even my during my day job I use Moo wherever it's possible. So it's one of my favorite cPanel module Moo, and Dancer 2 is my favorite framework for my API.
I think Dean is a Moo fan as well.
Okay, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
No, I'm not. I think it's the best option if you're going to do it,
Yeah,
rather than Moose.
yes, that's true. I agree.
So the final half of the question was if you could add one new thing into Perl, what would it be? And that's our final question for tonight.
Okay, I'm gonna borrow this because I've been playing with Raku for last 3 4 months now, and I've seen so many new features in Raku which I miss in Perl. So if you ask me what new feature or what I'm looking for in Perl is the method chaining. I've seen every time I look around the Paraku solution by team Perl Weekly Challenge member, I see everybody is using just one liner with all methods are chained together. X dot Y, Y dot Z, Z dot blah, and then you just carry on going on. There's no end to it. I wish I could do that in Perl. I don't know whether it is possible or not, but I'm not aware if you can do that in Perl. So that's one thing that I wish Perl could do that to me. Method chaining is something I'm missing in Perl.
It may be possible depending on your object-oriented framework, but I couldn't answer that in general because I have my own object-oriented framework in RPerl, so it works a bit different.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Maybe someone can add it to the comments, Will. Someone can point us in the right direction in the comments of this video.
Okay. If somebody can point me, because I would love to do that in Perl, if it's possible. Because in Raku, you get it's like a core Raku. You don't need to import anything, just use it. And it's so much fun.
Cool. Well, there is a precedence for Perl borrowing features from Raku in the past. So it could happen again in the future. Who knows? All right, well, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. And, you know, Mohammad, there's probably a lot more things that we could discuss. I would love to have you on another show sometime in the future. And we can, after the virus is done, maybe we'll come to London and sit down for, you know, an interview and do part 2, you know?
Yeah, I'm quite up for it. So yeah.
Well, let's have our final thought or word of wisdom, if anyone has one. I will start us off, and I will say that having a weekly challenge for Perl is probably doing a good job on increasing the awareness of Perl and the marketing rankings of Perl with regular new challenges being released by Mohammad and his team. That's my thought. That's just my thought. I'll pass it over to Dean. Dean, do you have any thoughts?
My thought is thank you, Mohammed, for running it and organizing it, and for keeping Perl on the map, I guess.
I appreciate it, and thank you very much for having me this town hall meeting. Thank you.
All right. Well, this brings us to the end of episode number 15 of the Perl Town Hall. I have been your host, Will the Chill. Thank you, Dean Hampstead and Mohammad Anwar, for joining me today on the Perl Town Hall. We'll see you guys next week. Remember, stay safe and stay purling. And